and that's what gives keeps the freshness, as you said, high acidity, in the grapes. At the same time, it's well ripened, the skin,
Oh yeah, for
because
sure.
Bobal is quite rustic. It's we could say that it's like it's the Carignan.
Yeah,
Carignan.
yeah.
Mm, It's quite similar. It's, of course, it's not the same grape, but it's quite similar one to the other. And in there we've got what we wanted to show was the grape itself, the raw. And for that, we make the aging in big ancient amphoras
Right.
of between 2,000 and 3,000 liters
Wow.
capacity. And that clay of the amphora, it does the microoxygenation. It
Yes.
gives oxygenation to the wine, but very, very little, So that gives you a finer feeling in the mouth for the tannins, but it really doesn't. It's not a protagonist. It's not a main.
Yes. It's not a main player in the wine. I understand. Um, Now, how much of your production is focused upon Bobal?
In Bobal, well, we're making about between 40,000 bottles, 40, 30. It depends on
Oh,
the
vintage, yeah.
vintage. I mean, we depend on the, climatic hazards. And we are making about half half of the production is white and half of the production is reds. And in those reds, we make probably of those reds, it's 80% Bobal,
I see. Yeah, yeah.
because we make 7 different wines of Bobal.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Yes. So it's quite crazy. We make several different wines because we really want to show the great diversity that we have here. So we get a little bit crazy and
There's nothing wrong with getting crazy about wine. It's what I love about wine.
no worries.
So you mentioned the age of the vines earlier, having some older vines. How old are the vines that go into this Goat Bobal, the 2020?
Those are in an average of 50 years old.
50 years. Okay, all right. That's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
a it's a most enjoyable wine. It's early hours for me. It's 11:30 right now, but I'm rather enjoying this. It has a wonderful almost like a fruity floral aromatic here that's really it's really jumping out of the glass. But I know what you mean about the rusticity, but it's a charming rusticity. It's not something that becomes overwhelmingly rustic, which can happen with some wines from your part of Spain and going up into perhaps Roussillon, Languedoc as well. It's still quite elegant, and as I said, it has that wonderful freshness. Now, when I've gone to Spain, I've always noticed that regionally people have the best pairings with regards to the local varieties and some of the local cuisine. What would you pair this with?
With paella. It's crazy, but it matches really, really well with the traditional paella, and also with the gazpacho manchego. The paella. Paella is the traditional dish of Valencia.
Yes.
So we are very, very close to the region, and the ingredients of the paella, and this can be something. I can get in some trouble, but the real the real traditional ingredients of the paella, it's of course rice, not any rice, but a specific rice, but it's rice, a little bit of tomato, some beans, some garrofo, and so, and olive oil.
Of
So
course.
it's greasy. It's olive oil, uh, chicken, and rabbit. And then, depending on the season, if there are escargots, or if there are some mushrooms, or it depends, because the paella at the end, it's a dish that was it was used for people that work in the land.
Yes, yeah.
So they use what they had
No,
around.
I understand. I understand. I don't know why it becomes so controversial when people speak about ingredients in paella. I've heard people have huge arguments about it, so I understand.
Yeah, and it depends of what you get around. That's what you got, and in gazpacho manchego, the ingredients are quite similar. It's not rice, but it's a kind of torta of flour, wheat,
Yep.
and it's also used olive oil and chicken and rabbit,
Right. Right.
and some species, and so that greasy part, that grease of the
The oil, yes.
oil,
Yeah.
of the oil and the chicken, and so it matches really, really well with the acidity and the freshness of the goat. And at the same time, you need a wine that has some kind of body. It's not a light wine, but it has some structure.
Yes.
So it really fits quite well.
You're
And then with with barbecues and things like that, it's easy. It's easy to.
you're making me very, very hungry. I haven't had lunch yet, so this is unfortunately I don't have all of the ingredients for a paella for lunch, but another time.
I know because I've just eaten a paella right
All
now
right.
that
Okay.
that my father-in-law has just made it, and with fire,
Oh,
with
I'm
the
very
fire
envious.
of the. Yeah.
Extremely envious. Now, a question for you. You were speaking about the region that you are based in, but I noticed that you don't use the Manchuela DO or DOP on your labels.
No.
Now, what's the story behind that?
Well, the DO in the place that we are located should be DO Manchuela.
Yeah.
It is DO Manchuela. When we began, as I say, in 2009, we began making the wines as how you call it. We used to rent part of the winery in other wineries,
Yes, yeah, I
and
understand.
we
Yeah.
wrote the maquila. I don't know the name in English. It's a maquila. That you bring your own grapes, you have your own tanks, your own barrels, everything, and
Yeah.
you do it by your own, but the winery is not yours.
So it's like a custom crush within a winery, right?
And we began doing that in other winery in Valencia region.
Right.
So the winery was not in Manchuela
I
region.
see, yes.
Grapes were from here, from Manchuela, but the winery was not settled in
I
Manchuela.
see.
So we couldn't do it with Manchuela DO. And then as years went by, in 2015, we rented the warehouse where we are here right now, because we began as garage winery, garage. We did the wine in the garage at home, where you could only find, there was place for only one car, it was a
Right. Yeah.
garage wine.
Yeah.
And in 2015, we moved here to a truck garage,
Okay.
so it's a
Slightly
bigger
larger. Yes. Yeah.
And so we reaconditioned the warehouse as winery. And now we are in Casas Ibañez, that it's an area that it's in the Manchuela region. But as I said, we began with Bobal, and then the third wine we did Maximas and Rosé. And the third wine that we made, it was in 2012. It was a white wine, Sol. And it's made with Tardana. Tardana is the grape.
Tardana is known in Valencia as Planta Nova, right?
Yes, that's true. In the inland of Valencia, that it's close to Alicante. But the part of Valencia that it's close to Albacete, on the other side of the river Cabriel, as I was mentioning before, it's called also Tardana. You know, in the area of Requena, Utiel, you know. And what happened? That here in Manchuela, in 2011, 12, blah, blah, and the years after, the grape Tardana was not accepted, or it was not listed in the grape varieties
Like the authorized varieties for the region. Yes,
they were not authorized. Okay. So we said it's a little bit strange. We cannot have wines with DO and others without DO, because people is going to get confused, and maybe they can think that some wines are very good and the others are not so good because they don't have DO. And then the year after, we began rescuing a grape varietal that is called Pintaillo. Pintaillo or Pintailla, that it's very native here. And you can only find it here in two villages, in Alborea and Casasibáñez. You cannot find it in any other place in Albacete or any region. You know, it's very, very local. And also it was not authorized by the DO.
Yes.
But we were just, you know, we were making researches and trying to find some info about this grape varietal.
Yes.
And you can find it in some books that were written in the 1930s, you know, that they were mentioning Pintaillo as a grape that they were making wine, blah, 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 blah. So that was like, okay, we have to make our own way, you know, go through our own path, because we are really focused on working with the native grape varietals and local grape varietals, and the DO has another
agenda.
Objective.
Yes, yeah. So tell us a little bit, for those people unfamiliar with the variety, tell us a little bit about what this brings to the glass.